Hello and welcome to my channel, iWinToLose Gaming. It's finally time to yet again polish off that dusty old rock element with the release of the owner of Chiori Boutique, aptly named Chiori. Will Chiori rock our world, or is she simply Albedo 2.0? You're tuning in to iWinToLose Gaming, and here is the ultimate Constellation Zero Chiori showcase. Ah yes, Geo. You know that orangish element that is definitely Hoyoverse's most loved element?
I don't know what this is, but it's kind of hot.
Well, I guess it's not forgotten because we're getting another professional 5-star rock hurler in version 4.5. Chiori is a renowned fashion designer in Tevat, creating both Navia's fabulous frilly outfit and Kirada's fake cat-eared outfit. However, despite being the highbrow fashionistas that I'm sure we are, we're not here to indulge in trifling gossip about Chiori's professional LinkedIn profile. Instead, we're far more interested in her local fauna butchering capabilities. My Chiori is adorned with the husk of opulent dreams, tailoring with the Harbinger of Dawn to fix loose seams. For her debut runway show, she is at Constellation Zero, arrayed with triple crowns, fitting for our fashion maestro. Sashaying dual katanas, she trims the excess fray, with the help of her dolls, stitching her enemies away. Will Chiori cut into that wallet owned by you, or will she thread the needle and just be Su-Su? Join me as we assess Chiori's Geo Couture. Is she unique, or is she just Albedo, plus a bit more? Starting the Geo fashion show off, we have Chiori's basic attacks. Weaving Blade. Despite its incredible dual katana wielding animations, currently they are just doing physical damage. We will however revisit them in a bit. Up next we have her elemental skill, Fluttering Hasode. Chiori's elemental skill actually ka-chings her towards her enemy with an initial slash and deploys an automaton doll, aptly named the Tomato Doll. Tomato Doll. Tomato? After ka-chinging, Chiori will start to albedo all over the place. The ka-ching portion deals one instance of upward sweep attack damage, which is this first 20,845 damage you see here. And the albedo portion deals a tomato's worth of damage once every 3.6 seconds. A critical tomato here deals around 15,860 damage for up to 5 tomatoes total. Her tomatoes deal damage based on both attack and defense, with more of the tomatoes coming from the defense portion of the multiplier. Chiori can also ka-ching all over the place, just like ka-ching can. By simply holding down the elemental skill button, Chiori can ka-ching to the left, ka-ching to the right, and even ka-ching up into the air. And with a Geo construct nearby, after ka-chinging, Chiori will create 2 tomato dolls, and thus she can start albedoing twice as hard. As we can see, albedoing twice as hard is already too much for our poor Regisfine friend to handle. You can even stagger the twice as hard albedoing by having a Geo character create a Geo construct after Chiori uses her elemental skill. In fact, the second doll will still spawn even if the Geo construct you made was instantly destroyed. The tomato dolls actually do have a maximum range, as one of them actually didn't attack the robot chicken here, and these dolls don't move on their own, so they behave similarly to a Yai turret. Making a Geo construct will also activate her second passive, the Finishing Touch, which adds 20% Geo damage to Chiori for 20 seconds. But wait, that's not all. Thanks to her passive, Tailor Made, if Chiori uses a normal or plunge attack after her skill, Chiori will activate Tailoring, where she gains Geo Infusion for 5 seconds. Sadly, this infusion is very short and deals damage entirely based on her attack stat. It also gets overwritten by other elemental infusions like Bennett's Constellation 6. While the rest of her kit might get higher ratings in a fashion show, her orange dual-wielding katana slashes might look pretty in orange, but aren't the star of the show. But wait, that's not all at all. The next elemental skill variation is where Baby the Stars Shine Bright. And if you knew what that reference was, then you probably also watched Kamikaze Girls, which is a wacky fashion-themed movie from 2004. Hey, Billy! Edit that out, will ya? No one's gonna get that reference. Oh, don't you dare leave it in here. If you press her elemental skill button after ka-chinging somewhere, then she'll actually switch off the field to the next character in the party. And you get this pretty orange flower which indicates that Tapestry is in effect. While Tapestry is in effect, if you hit the enemy with a normal, charged, or plunge attack, Chiori's Tomato Doll will deal an instance of the upward sweep multiplier, up to 2 times, once every 2 seconds, within 8 seconds of activating the Tapestry effect. Regardless of whether you have 1 or 2 dolls out on the field, you can only get 2 additional upward sweeps. Her tomato dolls do not count as constructs, and they cannot be destroyed. They generate 1 to 2 geoparticles, with 1 particle being more common from my observations, roughly 5 times over a rotation, regardless of whether you have 1 or 2 tomato dolls on the field. Finally, her tomato dolls do not snapshot. In total, with the EE rotation, Chiori is able to get 3 upward sweeps and 10 tomato attacks. I'll provide a summary later on in the video as to how many albedos this is worth. With her ka-chinging and albedoing finally out of the way, we can move on to her elemental burst, Hyoku Twin Blades. Hyoku Twin Blades is one of the simplest and straightest to the pointiest ultimates in the entire game, simply dealing some geo damage, scaling off both her attack stat and defense stat. It has a short 13.5 second cooldown with a 50 energy cost. One thing that really surprised me about her ultimate is its insane AoE. It even hit these super far away treasure hoarders, who normally need to be sucked by Venti. And Chiori also has a wonderfully snide expression which I absolutely love. Oh yeah, we also have her exploration passive, which is actually one of my personal favorite parts of Chiori's kit. Brocaded Collar's Beauteous Silhouette. This passive adds 10% movement speed as long as you equip an alternate costume or glider skin. And as we can see from earlier, our Regis Fine friend isn't able to survive being a runway model for Chiori's fashion show. Let's see Chiori's full kit on display with a much thicker model, the Robot Chicken. With the Construct Activator second Tomato Doll and Crystallized for Georesonance, Chiori was able to reasonably quickly and impressively chop up our thick Robot Chicken model. This is a pretty rock-solid performance given that Chiori is meant to be an off-field character. Now you might have been wondering, why didn't I use her Geo Infusion against the Robot Chicken? Well, here's why. Best combo I could find for her Geo Infusion is 5 charged attacks. Even if everything crits, the 2 upward sweeps from her EE deal 57,690 damage, while the 5 N1Cs deal 47,790 damage. On top of this, EE Chiori can swap back on and deal some free physical damage hits, which further widens the gap. For most situations, if you want to play Chiori on field, ironically, you're better off using her off-field EE rotation and then swapping her back on field. I'm disappointed in this, as orange dual katana slashes are just so freaking cool. But, oh well, it is what it is. And oh boy, we've reached the most controversial part of this video, Chiori's teams. At Constellation Zero, Chiori really enjoys having a Geo character on her team that can make a Geo construct. This team, which I will call the On EE Field 4-starish only team, rolls right off the tongue, I know, consists of Goro, Bennett, and Geo Traveler. This Ani Field 4-starish only team is oddly functional. It's called the Ani Field because despite using her off-field EE rotation, you can swap her back on-field so she can gain the Bennett's fits of Bennett's, Goro's, and Geo Traveler's buffs. It's called a 4-starish only team because, well, Traveler is a 5-star character, but may as well be a 4-star character. Despite this team's eclecticness, it eclectically, effortlessly, exuberantly 9-starred the current Abyss 12. It is important to note that my Goro is a Constellation 6, which does provide roughly a 10 to 15% increase to Chiori's damage in this situation. Another functional 4-star only team is a mono Geo team with Noelle, Goro, Chiori, and either Geo Traveler or Ningguang to make a construct. Goro's defense buff from his elemental skill will no longer buff Chiori, however it does buff Noelle. Awkwardly though, neither Goro nor Noelle can create Geo constructs, hence why Geo Traveler is here. Is this better than a Noelle Furina variant? It's hard for me to say, and my gut is telling me no, but at the very least this is a decent option for a 4-star only team with Chiori as an actual sub-DPS character. This team was able to also effortlessly 9-star the current top half of Abyss 12, which admittingly is a pretty easy Abyss 12, but it's still worth something. Fortunately for Constellation Zero Chiori, she is a natural fit on an Arataki Itto team. Thanks to Ushi being very hard to destroy, Ushi is one of the most reliable ways to activate Chiori's second Tomato doll. Chiori is a nice upgrade and albedo replacement for Itto teams, and ironically, Constellation Zero Chiori is much better with Itto than with her dearest of clients, Navia. Oh boy, it's finally time to tackle the elephant in the room, Navia. And if I'm missing tomorrow, it's likely that Melis and Silver disposed of me for threatening to tackle Navia and calling her an elephant. Unfortunately, as we can see, for a typical Navia team with double Geo, double Petch, Chiori is only able to make one Tomato doll. This is a massive hit to her damage output, to the point where, at Constellation Zero with the Harbinger of Dawn, while she's at greater than 90% HP, she's only worth 1.05 albedos as a sub-DPS character for Navia. However, for roughly 16,000 additional Primo Gems, you can get Chiori's Constellation 1, which makes it so she can summon her second Tomato doll without a Geo construct. Yeah, this Constellation 1 is honestly entirely Navia bait. I'm not a big fan of this Constellation design since it gates using Chiori with the character you'd want to use her the most with. Another option is to actually run a triple Geo, one Petch character team with Navia. However, now you're stuck with a suboptimal Navia instead of a suboptimal Chiori. So you're going to have to pick and choose which character you want to be played suboptimally. Another solid core for Constellation Zero Chiori is of course a double Geo core, with Constellation Zero Chiori plus preferably Zhongli or Albedo. Unfortunately though, double Geo cores are pretty outdated nowadays, but older team archetypes like Hu Tao plus Yalan with double Geo are still perfectly usable and will be able to comfortably clear all the content in this game. It's just that characters like Hu Tao who used to like double Geo now have better alternatives. So let's talk about my honest review of Chiori's fashion show. Chiori is still a rock solid character, Even with only one tomato doll, she's already roughly 1.05 of an albedo. And with both her tomato dolls, she clearly power creeps albedo. This is honestly one of the most direct power creeps in Genshin Impact that I've seen. Right now though, Chiori has some major team building issues, especially at Constellation 0. It just feels really bad to use Constellation 0 Chiori with Navia, since you need Constellation 1 Chiori to draw out her full potential with Navia. Again, this constellation really feels like Navia owner bait. This is extra evident since in Chiori's trailer she's even shown with Navia. This constellation is a lot like Nouvelette's Constellation 1, where he's missing a third stack of Draconic Glory if you run him with Furina. These types of Constellation 1s that enable a character to be played with another character that canonically you'd want to use together just doesn't really sit well with me. Despite this, Chiori is still the best off-field geo-damaged character for what it's worth, even with just one doll, so needless to say with two dolls, she absolutely cuts albedo to ribbons. So yeah, aesthetically she looks incredible, and all in all she is still a solid character, just with a questionable Constellation 1. And to answer the question from earlier, is she just albedo 2.0? Well, she's more like albedo 1.63, and at worst, she's albedo 1.05. Oh, and she also kachings all over the place, so she's also part kaching as well. But due to the lack of a full party geo healer that also deploys a geo construct, it's difficult to slot her in with Furina. However, if Hoyoverse ever releases a full party geo healer that also has a geo construct, well, that'll be really nice for team building flexibility for Constellation 0 Chiori. But that is a big if, and who knows if or when Hoyoverse will ever release such a character. My last gripe with her Constellation 0 design is using her as an on-field geo-damaging character. It's unfortunate that her on-field geo infusion deals less damage than doing her EE quick swap and then swapping her back onto the field to smack the enemy with physical basic attacks. Her Constellation 6 does fix this though, so if you bought Nvidia stock a couple of years ago, then you can consider this. Still, none of these flaws in her design detracts from how much damage that frankly she does. Even as essentially the only source of damage in the previous on EE field 4-star team, Chiori did very well and should be able to clear most content very comfortably in the future. Let me know what you think about Chiori down in the comments below. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Want to Lose, signing out.
ファッションは私が定義する。